All right, folks, we are live on the very first episode of the Counter Media Podcast, the new podcast that we're going to start doing with some other folks. Going to kind of cover current events a little more specifically, news, politics, all that good stuff. And in just a second here, I'll be introducing my co-host. But I do want to say hello to Mike out there. I definitely wanted to, or meant to, kind of publish this podcast event much earlier, get more participation. But you know what? Whoever's out there, make sure you guys say hi. And we appreciate you showing up. We're streaming live right now on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, and X. So I want to say hi to everybody out there. For those of you on Rumble, unfortunately, your comments don't come through on the software that we use. So make sure you say hi. I will try to remember to go over to Rumble. I often forget and say hi to folks over there. But we have a super interesting topic tonight that we wanted to cover. I think there's a lot going on here, and it is multi-layered to say the least. Gilbert Lopez, hello. Everybody else out there, make sure you say hi over in the comments. We will definitely want to delay. And we also want to make sure that you join in on this conversation. So we'll be reading your comments. We will definitely be taking your questions. And it's going to be a fun night. We're going to keep it light and have some fun with this topic because I think it's very interesting. So I do want to introduce the Thunder from Down Under, our good friend Chris over in Australia. And then we also have Nate. Chris, if you will, just introduce yourself real quick. Tell everybody a little bit about you and who you are, what you're all about.
Thanks, Gary. Hi, everyone. I'm Chris. I'm like sort of a documentary filmmaker, wannabe independent journalist. I'm currently working on the Trump assassination, the attempt in Butler. And then I'm sort of shacked up with Gary not too long ago. Maybe shacked up isn't the right word, but I met him.
That's definitely not the right word.
That's definitely the right word.
It's a long-distance relationship.
But you know, we're all fun. We're all friends here. We're all having fun. But yeah, no, we just met up and did the last podcast. Went really well. So we're going to start doing a bunch more. And this week it's the drones. The drones in the sky. What's going on? Here we are. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely, Nate.
How's that?
Tell everybody about yourself.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Nathan in WK Photography. I am a Marine veteran, gone crazy cat guy, gone skydiver, and now photographer.
Awesome. A few other folks showed up in the comments over there. Willie Everett, John Tandy, Adam Busine, Sean Medina. Again, anybody else showing up, make sure you say hi. We'll try to recognize you. And we got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. So I guess we'll just start this off, kind of an outline, right? What we want to talk about is what's been happening, when this all started, which has been a couple of weeks now. This is kind of escalated into a lot of things. There's also a lot of fake videos out there. I think there's a lot of people exploiting this for fun and clicks and views, and that's great. That's going to happen. But I think there's some other things that are possibly going on too that we're going to discuss and just hopefully open your eyes a little bit. And I think a lot of people that follow this channel are much more informed and just situationally aware of some of the things that our government tries to pull. There's other speculation, and a lot of this is going to be speculation. We're going to share the facts as we know them, and then we're just going to get knee deep into kind of what we think what we think these are, what we think could possibly going on, and then also how we have different folks in the media as well as the government exploiting these types of events. So, these we started seeing drones, or reports of drones over New Jersey about 2.5-3 weeks ago. And we're seeing more and more take place. People are saying these are SUV sized drones. I don't know if that is correct. I think it's very, very difficult to determine the size of a drone. And for Nate flies drones, I've had multiple drones. We have one now. I also was a Raven UAV operator in the military. And those things are very difficult to determine how far they are away if you don't know the size of them. And then especially at night, which we're seeing this, which is also another strange occurrence. There's also reports saying that, some of these are taking place over restricted airspace, military installations and things like that. And we're going to try to weed through as much as we can the facts, which is tough. Like we've had probably 6 or 7 people researching this topic for the last week or so, and it gets more confusing as we go deeper and we start peeling back layers of the onion. So, Chris, if you will, you just kind of take the stage and kind of frame up what's going on, kind of some of the initial reports that we have going on, some of the initial responses from government, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so I only really first started seeing this maybe a week ago, started seeing some of the footage that came out. I think we might go through some of that a little bit later. It's interesting to work out what's real and what's fake. I've got some here that are sort of fake videos, and you can sort of tell, and a bunch of tweets that went viral. They've been sort of community noted. But, there seems to be something going on. There's a lot more reports from people. And so I just started looking at a few things more from the government response angle. So I noticed that they had a congressional drone hearing about a week ago, or December 9, and it was all about the threats of drones. And we'll probably go through, I don't know, now or later, but we can go through parts of that video because there's a few interesting parts where they're talking about, for example, there's the 2018 Preventing Emergency Threats Act, which mitigates UAS threats, and it expires in a couple of days. Funny enough.
The timing of that is very odd, and I think before we got new information, we had kind of come to a consensus like, hey, this is kind of what somebody just mentioned up here, a false flag operation to instill fear. It's amazing what Congress can get passed when the electorate are afraid. And a lot of people, especially in New Jersey, are afraid right now. We don't know what this is. But the idea that the U.S. government doesn't know what these are is an absolute lie. And right now, that's kind of the narrative that they're pushing.
Yeah, so it's like they're sort of playing dumb. They don't know what's going on. And it's like, if you wanted to scare people about drones, it probably would play out exactly like this, whether there's a threat or not. And just coincidentally, and look, we've only had a couple of days, at least me, looking into this, so I don't want to make any conclusion about what's going on. And that's what I think we'd like to do in the show. We'd lay out all the different theories, what people have been saying, what's going on. Maybe we can hit up the chat or whatever at some point, get a feel from the people. But I'm very interested in the possibility that a lot of this is, to gin up the hysteria and the fear-mongering. People are afraid. These drones, the government, when they turn to the government, as they have many times before after 9/11 or other sort of big events, where people turn to the government for solutions, and the government's like, well, hey, I got the solution. How about you give us more power, more funding, more resources, and we'll take care of you. And in this hearing, they're talking about, look, this act is about to expire on December 20, right in the middle of this, right? So this hearing was December 9, by the way. And they're talking about Congress, and I haven't had the time to look into exactly that act. Maybe some people in the chat can hit us up and send us a few tips. 2018 Preventing Emergency Threats Act. But yeah, expires December 20. They're seeking a durable, this is the FBI spokesman was saying, we're seeking a durable extension. Congress is considering 5+ years to extend it. And then the Department of Justice person who's at that hearing, he said, our current authorities will lapse within 10 days unless reauthorized, and we must go beyond that. I'm paraphrasing there. I've got just my notes from the video. But so they want a long extension, and they want more power
money,
and authority to deal
more authority.
Well.
And I think the U.S. government has a real problem with the average citizen being able to put something in the sky and be able to investigate and see things. I don't think they like that power, and I think they've been trying to, and I know they've been slowly, incrementally. You used to be able to get a drone and fly it without a license as long as you didn't do anything crazy, and I think that was more than enough. It's not that hard to fly these drones. Now, near misses with aircraft and all this other stuff, and they pushed the fear mongering with that. They made it a requirement to have a license to fly a drone. So now you're registered, all these things, and they're just making more and more regulations. And ultimately, I think what they're going to end up doing is creating an agency, either independent of or within the FAA, that now has all this legal authority that we see with all of these crazy agencies that are going to continue to take power away from the average citizen to be able to investigate things, be able to see things, be able to fly these drones and everything else. They don't like giving up power and control, and that's what I think a lot of this is about.
That just reminded me, in that same hearing that I'm talking about, the congressional drone hearing from December 9, they've also got someone from I'm guessing a think tank or something, global, Bear with me, I have it all written. Global Strategy Decisions Group. I'll
Sure.
bring up his picture later. But I gather that he's over in Ukraine helping them fight against the Russians or whatever, particularly using drones. He talks a lot about how good Ukraine is with drones against a bigger army. And what you just said about centralization, about having a separate service, he specifically mentions the problem with our drone, either offense or defense. Spelled with a C, by the way, so just so you know, you Americans.
No, it's not.
It's an inside joke with Gary. But anyway, it says, he goes, yeah, the problem is it's not centralized. And he points to Ukraine. He said Ukraine created a specific UAS service within the Ministry of Defense, and that's really good. And we have to keep looking at Ukraine. Ukraine has all the answers. So he sort of mentions like a special department just for drone stuff, and that's probably what we might be getting at. And it just reminded me with what you just said.
Well, and I think some of it has to do with the money that is behind DJI, because DJI is a Chinese-owned company, and they operate in the United States and make so much money. And what they were trying to do is ban even just regular drones and blame it on the fact of, national security, that they're mapping, you name it.
Well, they are. So, one of the things that we were kind of talking about this that is related to Butler, one of the big questions was, hey, why didn't the United States Secret Service have drones up during July 13th? It's a great question. The Secret Service does have a counter UAS program that they have. It's basically jamming, right? They can jam drones, they can down drones, they can take control of drones, all those things. But even when I was working for Department of State and Diplomatic Security, we had surveillance program where we taught surveillance, taught counter surveillance, all these things, and we were trying to establish a drone program. The problem is that the best drones out there are DJI. And those are made in China, and they do, without a doubt, have backdoors built into those drones. China could potentially hijack that drone. They can definitely see where that drone is if they wanted to. They can pull video feeds off those drones. All of that stuff is legit. So the United States has been resistant to get into the drone because the ones that are most readily available in the best are DJI, and there is a real surveillance issue with those. So that's why different agencies have been slow to have drone programs, because they have to get drones specifically built. Those are expensive. It's a logistical nightmare. And then you got to have service plans for those drones. It's a real challenge. And I think they're starting to wake up and catch up. And there's other American companies.
And just quickly, in that hearing, they also do mention a couple of times a lot of drones that we use are Chinese, and we're worried about the back door, and maybe we've got to do something about that as well.
And Street Ghost, you're right. The FAA doesn't make law. Congress makes law. Neither does the ATF. Doesn't make law either. But that doesn't stop them from taking legislation and basically interpreting it the way that they see fit. So that is a problem. And the other problem with this is right now the out of the Democrats and Republicans, the Republicans are the ones that are most all about, personal freedom and things like that. They're typically on the side of liberty to some extent. Even that's questionable a lot of times. But right now, it's the Republicans pushing for more regulation, for more funding for the federal government. And anytime that we're creating more funding, we're giving them more power, it's a problem. So I agree with you in concept, but that's not how it often plays out. And the FAA has taken broad they have what they're doing with drones right now is, to me, is a little insane. So it gets a little crazy with how they interpret those laws and how they end up pushing regulations as well.
And also there's a common refrain throughout these hearings of basically the theme is we need to do something basically to increase our security while not affecting civil liberties too much. That's a common thing they keep saying, whether it's the witnesses from the FBI, probably the Department of Justice, the senators, and then later they bring on the two people, that one guy from that Global Systems, whatever. They also bring on the head of some energy company. And they all basically say the same thing. We need to do something, but we'll keep in mind the civil liberties of the American people. But that tells me they probably won't be too concerned. Basically, that tells me they will be taking away civil liberties of the American people, but hopefully maybe not too much, if we're lucky.
There is a proven recipe for taking away civil liberties without so much as a peep, and that is get the American people afraid. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. And when they say, we know for a fact that these are not foreign adversaries, but we don't really know beyond that. Well, both things can't be true. So, it is a little, I don't think that they are foreign platforms. We're going to talk about some of those claims in just a moment too. As a matter of fact, Chris, if you will, let's play that video with I believe he's a senator or representative, I'm not sure. Play that video and we'll talk a little bit about basically what we have a Republican senator claiming is that there's an Iranian mothership off the coast of New Jersey.
Bear with me. You might have to share my tab again, my new tab.
Yep, no worries.
Yep.
There you go.
All right, here you go.
This is dangerous for the
This is something.
whole country. I mean, just think about this. If we have objects in the sky that are the size of an SUV over any city, over any state, it's an invasion of our airspace. In focus now, Republican Congressman Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey, member of the House Judiciary Committee on the Hill right now. How do you address this at this point?
Well, here's the real deal, Harris. I'm also on the Transportation Committee, on the Aviation Subcommittee, and I've gotten to know people. And from very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off, I'm going to tell you the deal. It's off the east coast of the United States of America. They've launched drones, is everything that we can see or hear. And again, these are from high sources. I don't say this lightly. Now, we know there was a probability it could have been our own government. We know it's not our own government because they would have let us know. It could have been some really glorified hobbyists that were doing something unbelievable. They don't have the technology. But let's pretend that's possible. The third possibility was somebody, an adversarial country, doing this. Know that Iran made a deal with China to purchase drones, motherships, and technology in order to go forward. The sources I have are good. They can't reveal who they are because they are speaking to me in confidentiality. These drones should be shot down, whether it was some crazy hobby.
All right, I think that kind of gets the point across. So, we have a member of Congress coming on here and saying that there is a Iranian drone mothership off our own coast launching drones. And I just saw that we have Chris Cotton over in the chat over here. He's saying that he's a CUAS counter UAV personnel as well as EW guy, electronic warfare guy. Definitely want to hear some of his comments on that, as well as everybody else's as well. I know there's a lot of people out there. We got smart subscribers. We got some very high level folks out there with a lot of information that do a lot of the stuff that really do fill in some of the information gaps that we have in here. So we appreciate any time that you guys contribute, and that's why we do these live streams. That's what it's all about.
And I completely agree with his comment there. The guy's sources are useless because he's like, I got these great sources and they told me about an Iranian mothership. Whereas it seems checking satellites or whatever they use, they can tell, no, there's no Iranian mothership. Your sources are lying to you or whatever. So sources
well, obviously. I mean, later on, she talks about... Go ahead.
I was going to say maybe not useless, quite useful to a purpose of scaring people to pass whatever laws they want to pass.
Well, now that we have that kind of perspective, I want to bring up this video. Many of you probably have seen this. This is John Ferguson.
I'm the CEO of Saxon Aerospace here in Wichita, Kansas. I'm not normally a TikTok kind of a guy. I like watching this stuff every once in a while. But I'm a manufacturer of unmanned aircraft, military grade unmanned aircraft, as you can see one of my systems here. There's all of these mysterious drones going on off the East Coast, and as a professional, as a subject matter expert, I wanted to give you all my opinion on what I think could be going on with these drones. I don't particularly believe.
All right. So he goes on to say essentially that, like, hey, this is what he believes. He actually alludes to a couple different scenarios. Number one, he talks about the fact that in Ukraine, there is a lot, Ukraine and in a lot of the former Soviet Union, there are unaccounted for nuclear material, both warheads as well as material to make weapons and things like that itself. And that is something that has been brought to Congress and the DOD's attention many times, and they've all but ignored it. His concern is that, that they may have intelligence that nuclear material is now over here. The other thing he talks about is it could be a gas leak or something like that, where they're using drones that can detect different radiation signals, different, whether it's a gas leak or they can search for a specific chemical compound. And that's what he thinks that they're doing in New Jersey. He doesn't think that, they're extraterrestrial. And look, here's one of the scenarios I think that whether it's just a bunch of hobbyists out there playing around and the news is now highlighting it, or it's that scenario or whatever else. What I'm a firm believer of, just like the think tank that Chris discussed earlier, there are lots of different think tanks out there that anytime we have a crisis going on here in America, they try to figure out with a lot of smart people. And we have some incompetent boobs in our government, but there's also some super smart folks that know how to maximize and capitalize on any event like this to push specific agendas that they have in place. And all of this can be true all at once. They could be looking to enact new laws, new regulations, create new agencies, get new funding that are going to get pushed into the military industrial complex to develop new drone materials, new counter drone system, all those things, as well as, create new laws that are going to take away freedoms and liberties from the United States citizens. And just create fear to where, again, we start relinquishing our personal liberties and we're willing to give up a lot. So I think a lot of these things can be true all at once. And as far as we know, it could be the U.S. government itself or different agencies out there creating some of these hoax videos. I think all those things are absolutely possible. And if you don't think it's possible, then I think at this point we're kind of naive.
That might be a good point. I've got a couple of bookmarks saved of some of these sort of fake videos, and they've been community noted. It might be worth touching on that. If you want to share, actually, if you're up for that, I can share my tab of a couple of these videos.
Share away. Look, Chris, you got a special shout out.
Look at that. Hey.
Look at that. Broken that massive ego.
While Chris looks for this,
I missed it. You got to bring
it.
Striking the ego. You bring it up again. I missed it.
If it wasn't the U.S. government flying these
Tommy
things
knows
around,
what's up. Wait, what were you saying about the smart
them.
subscribers that you have? Sorry to interrupt, mate. I was getting carried away with the compliment there.
What? No, go ahead, Chris.
No, I'm done. I'm just saying, please. Tommy is a smart guy, I can tell.
He almost dislocated his shoulder, patting himself on the back there.
Jesus.
I almost lost track of what I was bringing up. I was bringing up videos or something, wasn't I? All right, here we go.
Now, more importantly, you think about what you're bringing up, Chris. Nate, what were you saying?
No, I've got it.
It wasn't the U.S. government flying these things around, if it was a adversary or somebody, they wouldn't want to be seen.
Exactly.
They're flying around with all 100%. The lights going off, and that is for other aircraft in the area so that they don't collide with them. Because God
I
forbid,
think we also be using just what commercially available drones, like it's like just a standard Mavic Pro or whatever else. They can get all the surveillance footage that they need to get. Now they may have specialized drones that have some shielding that are going to offset any electronic countermeasures and things like that. But I think, like you said, it just doesn't make sense that we have these sightings of these huge drones and say that they're foreign adversaries. I don't buy that either. Chris Cotton says most UAS technical aspects are open source and really on a few different methods, protocols, and operations. With that said, EW, electronic warfare, has methods to identify, but objects and big should be easily seen. Yeah, and the other thing, too, is they can tell exactly where these are taking off from and landing. They have radar technology that's going to be able to do that. So now
Kirby did mention he checked those electronic monitoring things and nothing seems to match up with drones over restricted airspace or some of the more extreme claims. They looked at what we just
all I know what I want them to be is I want them to be extraterrestrial. Like
it means 100%. I'm just over here.
I've got something for you.
Friends. I either want interstellar friends or I want to go to war with these guys. You know, one of the two.
One of the two need to happen.
Well, here we go. Here they are. All right. They're coming. All right, over Maryland right now. It says they're right on the video. You can see that, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, but of course it's
That's
got community
legit.
noted. Yeah. Surprise, surprise. And, you know, lucky community notes is here, but they're computer generated or made with AI. Blah, blah. Don't really need the details. So there's a few of these. There's another one. I might have mentioned this before. Looks like someone's shooting at it. This is a fake video as well. I thought it was fake. But anyway, it goes on for
Man,
a while.
what in the hell are they shooting at?
Oh, Jesus, they're shooting at it.
Well, yeah. Bad shot.
Yeah.
Gotta leave that thing.
Yeah, right?
Anyway, we get the idea, I suppose. Anyway, they got community noted, digitally altered, removing the voiceover, adding.
There was
footage
one that I
and
saw
audio
that
from
was looked completely fake to me. I don't know if you guys saw that or if you did see it. I wish you could put links in the comments. You can't.
Which one?
There was one video of drones actually firing at the ground. They were like strafing the ground. It looked like either like
yes.
straight up blasters from Star Wars is what it actually looked like. They were trying to make it look like tracers, but it didn't look like anything like that. Anyways,
And there was this one, this
look very
governor,
fake.
he got community. This governor got community noted. He saw some dozens of
former
large
government
drones in
very
the sky.
open.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know all this American stuff too well, but that's why it's good we've got this team here. But he films this. He says he sees a bunch of drones. Turns out, can anyone guess what these are? Without
Airplanes.
seeing the community note before?
No, the stars.
There you go.
Stars or
From the
airplanes?
constellation Orion. Okay.
Well,
this is Larry
Larry
Hogan.
Hogan is a supposed Republican that's easily tricked into Democrat policy. So that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, he was a bit concerned about that constellation in particular. So
It looked just like the Big Dipper, but it was moving.
yeah.
That's amazing.
What else did I have? There were a couple. Oh, there was another one which looked a bit funny to me, but I wasn't sure. Okay, well, here's another one which I assume is fake, right? It hasn't been community noted, but okay, it's tying into all the alien stuff, of course. But
The
is
wheel
that fake,
within a
I
wheel.
guess?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with
right?
fake.
Yeah.
It does look a lot like the description in Ezekiel. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, so that's why they whacked that up there. But
I don't like your anti-Christian rhetoric.
It wasn't me. This was just some person on,
I know.
you know. And then this one. Okay, I was wondering about this. You might have seen this video.
that one's
I think this was shown
interesting.
on.
Can you
Been
bring
here
screen
and
up?
Mendham.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I was asking you to
Yeah.
blow the screen up.
Yeah, well, one step ahead here. Here we are. Look at this. It's by some koala person. Okay, go Australia. We're taking over the world. Anyway,
Yeah. You
they
can't
got
believe
community
it.
noted.
So that one is interesting to me because if for those of you who've been following UFOs, UASs for a really long time, that is very similar to the description that a lot of pilots, even in Iraq and Afghanistan, have given a orb, a semi-translucent orb like that, flying along with them, doing maneuvers in the air that can't be explained. This is probably correct, but again, that does look a lot like something that we've seen unclassified documents where pilots' testimony have claimed. Either sometimes they say it's a square with an orb inside or vice versa, but that is something very similar to what has been reported in the past by very credible folks.
Yeah, and that might be all the sort of possibly fake ones. Oh, there was another community note from the Charlie Kirk news that was worth mentioning. Where are we? This one, oh, this wasn't community noted, but just this account's going off about Project Bluebeam. This had 8 million followers. Some random person commenting about what's really going on. And it's, I don't know. I assume it's all nonsense. But basically, yeah, 8 million views of something to do with Bluebeam and what's really going on. And look, I should be open-minded. I shouldn't rule out these things straight away. Let's be fair to all viewpoints or whatever. But this guy's, basically saying
No,
CNN was even at our facility shooting. Sorry, what was that?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I said some viewpoints should be just completely omitted.
I'm trying to be, we're We want to get more views. We don't want to offend the more out there people. You know,
we don't need all the views.
matters.
We don't
Yeah.
need all the views. Some
Nope.
views we don't
Okay.
need.
Some,
All
yeah,
right.
no.
So this thing's basically saying the drones are part of a military drill conducted by the Space Force. Everything is on a need-to-know basis, which is why there's so much confusion. Where are we?
Well,
They're setting up some kind of big show. Yeah,
Go ahead,
CNN
sorry.
was even at our facility. This is supposedly some like military person or whatever. CNN was even at our facility shooting pre-roll footage for our future story. I don't know exactly what is going on, but all I know is this: get ready. Peace and safety to all of you and your families. So there you go. A bit of a
Well, and real
Yeah,
quick
8
to
million
provide
views.
some clarity on this. Scroll back up to that post real quick, if you don't mind. It says Charlie Kirk News. For those of you not aware, that is not actually Charlie Kirk.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
That's not actually Charlie Kirk official.
yeah,
I
fan
think
page.
that's important to say. The other thing that I meant to mention earlier when I was talking about the many things that this could be, the other part of this is a distraction, right? We have a lot of bad news taking place with the Biden administration, and it absolutely could be a military exercise that they don't want anyone to know about, that they want to create this drama and just distract from a lot of the bad things that folks. We actually need to cover. I wanted to create a short on this, or at least talk a little bit about it. But recently, Biden just commuted the sentence of a corrupt judge that was putting children in a private, basically a private prison system for juveniles, and he was taking kickbacks for it. Is there anything worse that a president or anyone could do than that? I mean, that is the most despicable thing. We have a judge that has completely betrayed the trust of the American people. He is wrongfully convicting and wrongfully charging and punishing kids, ruining their lives forever, putting them in a private correction facility, a corporation that runs off of caging human beings, and then getting kickbacks for it. And he commutes his sentence. And I guarantee you, most of those kids were, low to middle class kids. The idea that the Democrat Party is for the middle class, the low class, against corporate corruption, greed, all this other stuff. Any idea, any belief in that should just be completely ripped away with that alone. That he would commute if the president had the power to double a sentence, triple a sentence, or put a person in the freaking electric chair. If ever there was a crime that should not be commuted, he should get multiple enhancements on that. He should be in jail for the rest of his life to do that to kids, to betray the American trust the way that he did. And we have a president that commutes his sentence. It's unbelievable. You
got that, and then you have the Chinese national that was pardoned, that pled guilty to having thousands and thousands of illicit child images and videos.
He pardoned. I didn't even hear about that. I'm still trying to process what he did with this judge, because it is insane. The Democrat Party is not for the lower class. They are not for minorities. Look, the Republicans don't do much better, but let's stop pretending that's what they do. They use people for their votes, and then their policies do nothing but damage the poorest among us. They make sure they keep the poor because it builds more constituents. They are the masters of bait and switch. But I digress. Let's get back to UAVs.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. They're pretty outrageous. I'd be more happy for Hunter to get the pardon than those two.
So this was another thing that I brought up. I think they're actually setting up the stage so that they can justify shooting down Santa Claus on Christmas. I mean, this is happening right before Christmas. Coincidence? I think not. They're going to accidentally shoot down Santa and take away the last bit of joy that we have in this world. Thank you, U.S.
And then
government.
parents will have to do more shopping. That's more money. There's plenty of reasons. It makes sense from a few different ways.
Exactly.
Let's not rule that one out either.
Well, yeah, Santa Claus is real.
Yeah, obviously.
100%.
But yes, I think the big thing here is this is happening for a reason. What the reason is, like, without a shadow of a doubt is still yet to be determined. But
Yeah,
right
and it could
before
be again, it could be a multifaceted reason. They again, it could be a lot of different things going on here. We could have freaking nuclear material, a dirty bomb, something like that that they're looking for.
yeah,
They're going to
it could be.
capitalize on this opportunity to get more authority, more power, and everything else. One thing I did want to bring up that I think is really important on this as well, and we're talking about a distraction. I don't know how many people are aware of this. Let me share this with you real quick. So the Biden admin extends $10 billion Iran sanctions waiver 2 days after Trump election win. We have a Biden administration that is absolutely hell-bent on destroying this country and empowering and emboldening our enemies. The way that this administration has bowed, and not just this administration, the Obama administration was as bad or worse. What they have done to enable Iran, and we already know that they provided material aid to October 7th, the attack on Israel, and yet we're still giving them money. We've extended the Iranian sanctions waiver. That's absolutely insane. It just tells you everything that you need to know about this administration. And again, I will tell you right now, like a lot of the times, Republicans aren't any better. But I mean, if you're going to pick the lesser of two evils, it's easy. It's easy. And hopefully Trump will come in and he will clean up both the Republican Party and the Democrat Party and our federal government in general. That is yet to be determined.
I got an opinion on that you're not going to like.
Let's hear it.
I'm not really down with the sanctions on Iran, and look, I like Trump, but I have to say this, as painful as it is, and this is going to annoy everyone, I apologize in advance. I generally was more happy with the Iran deal under Obama. I didn't like Trump ripping it up, and I was happy with Biden sort of going back to that way, because to me, I'm more about peace. I don't like, Iran's no good, obviously, and they definitely do fund Hezbollah and Hezbollah and Hamas and all these kind of things. But, this idea, I think the deal was okay. It was sort of putting a lid on, and this isn't my expertise or whatever, maybe I shouldn't even mention anything, but I was happy with them putting a lid on their sort of nuclear ambitions, and it kind of was a way for peace. Now that deal got ripped up, Iran has no real incentive not to go full nuclear, and it just pushes us closest to war, which certain people that I don't really like sort of want. And I like Trump, but that aspect of sort of we got to be tough on Iran. I don't think Iran's going to invade America. I don't think they were a big threat to America. They're a bad regime or whatever. But I don't like anything that gets us a little bit closer to war with Iran. So that's my little lefty.
I think
I'm not a lefty,
agree
but
with
my lefty peacenik take.
Sure. That's the hippie coming out. I mean, we lost half our viewers. Thanks for adding that commentary. But
I apologize in advance, okay? I'm all about peace through strength and go Trump, but I mean, let's just take it easy with Iran, okay?
But no, so look, I think Iran is generally I agree with. I don't like how the United States government goes around and sanctions certain countries. I think we meddle too much. With that being said, I think Iran is a little different in the fact that the more that we allow them to get closer to a nuclear weapon, the closer we are to war with them. They want war. They are as radical as they come, and if they have the ability to throw around their might with a nuclear weapon, game has changed. We're almost guaranteed, in my opinion, to end up in World War III or end up in a nuclear war. They will, at a minimum, and very likely, throw a nuclear bomb at Israel. And that next thing you know, we're in World War III. I think enabling Iran with money or nuclear power, because they are also one of the biggest sponsors of terrorism worldwide. Look, we've lost a lot of American soldiers in Iraq because of weapons, the EMPs that they designed. They were training. I was on the border of Iraq and Iran. We knew what they were doing with terrorists and insurgents. They were training them in Iran and then funneling them over. We know that for a fact. We were tracking munitions going across back and forth from Iran to Iraq. So Iran was directly responsible for killing untold American soldiers. So, like, I think that anytime that we empower them and we give them power, money, all we're doing is end up shooting ourselves in the foot. I mean, I think they are very unique. They're not a country that is willing to just, okay, look, don't mess with us, we won't mess with you. They're looking for an opportunity. But that's my counterpoint on that.
Yeah. I won't go too many more.
We got our
points.
audience.
Probably...
They came back. See what I did, Chris?
All
I
right,
bailed you
well,
out.
I don't know if I want to respond and lose any more of them or whatever, but I'm not sure that they want war, because if you look at what they've been taking all these hits from Israel recently, and they've really sort of taken most of it on the chin. It's like they're really quite scared.
They have to. Israel's going to destroy them. They planned the attack on October 7th. Like, they funded that. What do you mean they don't want war? They don't want to get. They want to try to keep a little buffer between them. They are all about fighting that proxy war. And I think because they don't have the material capabilities or the funding or the weapons to fight a direct war with Iran or Israel or us. So that's what they kind of want.
I don't think they want a war with America. Israel, sure.
No.
I can't see them wanting to.
You're saying that you don't think Iran wants a war with us?
I don't think so, no.
I would beg to differ. They want
I
to
know
destroy.
that
They want to
to the point-
destroy everything that has to do with the West.
I think if the calculus was we could do significant harm to the United States, they would. But again,
Yes.
Yeah, but as long as America is a little bit stronger than them, I think you'll be fine. I think they'll risk that just for self-interest. It's like, yeah, maybe we'd like to destroy America. America's the big Satan and all that. I just don't think it's in the cards. They're safe enough to stay over there. And this may be a little bit controversial too, but like, yes, Iran is doing a lot of things that lead to the deaths of American soldiers and things like that. I'm a bit more extreme with the anti-war stuff. I don't know how you take this or whatever, but I generally don't even think America should be there in Iraq and Afghanistan. And if
I agree with that.
No, I agree with that 100%.
These things wouldn't even. It's like they're a threat to America in the sense that we're sort of nearby them. And in a way, the solution to that is
Iran contained. We should have left Iraq in place.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the dumbest thing that we've ever done, and we were sold hook, line, and sinker on utter bullshit. And a lot of American soldiers to this day are still paying for it. Their families have paid for it. It's been a bad deal. All right, let's get back onto this UAV.
Apologies, everyone.
Oh man,
you still with us, people?
So
I just can't.
No, I mean, it's a. Well, here's what I know is if we keep them defunded and keep them unequipped, I think the world's better for it. And anytime that we have the Biden administration or the Obama administration funding and equipping them, I think that's just bad news for everybody. That's bad news for the world. If there is a bad guy in the world, that
it is their money. But it's not that we're giving the money. I don't think it's that we're not restricting their own money with the sanctions.
Well, we had a bunch of their money. You know what I would have said? I said, you know what, we got all these billions of dollars that instead of Obama putting it on a plane and going to drop it off in Iran, I say, you know what, we're taking this as reparations for all the American soldiers that you're directly responsible for killing. So F you don't get no money. If you'd have stayed out of this war and you would have showed some good faith and you wouldn't have intentionally tried to equip people to kill our soldiers, then maybe we could have had talks at the table. But you know what? F you at this point. I do want to give special recognition real quick to somebody that's put a lot of work into this. This person, she doesn't want to come on the stream right now. We're still working on her, but we got, she's just a young lass trying to make it through school. So I want to bring to the stage Ecstasy. There we go. There she is. That's not actual or her that's not her actual thing. But anyways, Ecstasy, thank you for
it's kind of last week's picture, but I guess it's
still relevant. Yeah. Too much political opinion. Get back to drones, I'm told. All right, look, you're not in control of our show. We do what we want on here. You're not the boss of me. But yeah, anyways, we do have this drone thing going on top of many other things. But we have, where are we at, Chris?
Maybe share my tab. Oh, actually,
Yep.
no, hang on. No, wrong thing. Damn it. 1 second, almost. Oh, actually, I might have. We'll get there. Tab, boom. Boom. Is it that one? This one? Yeah, just this. So this is the global, there you go, global strategy
A Pearl Harbor.
decisions group. Yeah, but so in just terms of, reacting on fear, you have sort of an event, a problem, and they want solutions to it. He mentioned it's Pearl Harbor
or
and
9/11
9/11.
Jersey. We don't need a Pearl Harbor or a 9/11 to wake us up. We're already awake. We need to deal with this now. So the
That's
best case.
basically the only thing I had teed up on that, but I just thought that was important to, tie in this thing of what they might be doing with this, of the angle of, maybe I can skip while we're there. 22 minutes, he mentions the centralization that he might be going for. Where are we?
For warfare, but also for protecting the homeland. I would think that what part of the problem is
It's
that
coming up.
you got $500,000 in the FBI. I'm sure you have $500,000 in some other agency, and you got all these agencies working on the same issue, and then it's not really centralized. There's no planning, et cetera. Maybe airports are trying to do their thing, and the FBI is trying to do their thing, and Customs and Border Protection trying to do their thing. Would it be beneficial to try to put this all together and just focus on the unmanned aerial system threat in the homeland?
I have to say I lean that way. I hate to beat a dead horse here, but the Ukrainians have once again shown some ways to deal with this. They have stood up their entire separate new force, very much like the Marine Corps or the Air Force. They've set up the Unmanned Aerial Systems Service in the Ukrainian Department of Defense in order to do precisely that, in order to address this entire new sector of technology and how it's to be developed and applied.
Probably one of the
So that's the same before with the agency.
I know we have to
And
go
then
over.
there was just one mentioned here that
Tennessee man was arrested for plotting to.
Yeah, so he
Gardner.
mentions- was it
just
last month?
a Tennessee man was arrested for plotting to use a drone carrying explosive to destroy a Nashville power substation.
Had you guys heard about that before? I didn't really know much about it.
I had never heard that before. That's
No.
pretty-
Yeah. So I just put that in my notes. I'm like, I'll
you
have to look
think
that
that'd be
up.
national news? You think they'd want to let us hear about that? I almost, when I hear about stuff like that, I almost question the validity of it. To be honest with you,
Yes.
Yeah, so I'd have to look into it. That's the only time I've heard of it. And it's all in this context of like, look at all these threats. Throughout the thing, they talk about, they got the border security guy there, and I guess maybe drones might be helpful to them. I'm not sure what the angle was there exactly. But we've got to worry about terrorism. We've got to worry about foreign adversaries. We've got to worry about this, that, and the other. But it's all just seems to be a lot of fear mongering.
yeah,
That's
no,
all I got for a
100%.
second. I'll try and load something else up. Maybe you
I
guys-
mean, to be honest, I'm not really afraid of these drones. Is anybody else?
no, not really. I mean, I'm quite a distance away, but I'm cool.
Well, obviously, yeah. No one wants to come down to visit the kangaroos, but
You never know. I'll keep watching the skies. I'll let you know if I see something. But yeah, I'm not too
Chris
worried.
Cotton says, "Let the DOD lead the COAS fight. They have the most experience. We've been doing it for years. There's a Air Force, Air Guard that could aid and work with SOCOM and other federal agencies." Yeah, I don't think that. Well, I think there are Americans that live their life in fear, and I do think there's a lot of Americans that are afraid of these drones, and especially afraid when we see all this sensationalized footage, which again I think a lot of it's fake. A lot of it I think has been proven to be nothing more than aircraft in the sky that they're trying to make to be drones. So it's a matter of us trying to kind of sift through the BS and figure out what. But I do think these tactics are highly effective. We saw that in COVID. We saw what type of crazy unconstitutional restrictions that the American people, a large portion of the American people, not only allowed to happen but got behind. There was a large portion of the American people that were out there telling on their neighbors and all this stuff. Like, it's despicable. Wearing masks in their car, wearing masks while they're swimming. Like how do you even, you're not even an American at that point. My God.
Yeah, when we had pretty crazy COVID restrictions down here in Australia, as you know.
Oh yes, you did. I
And
didn't
I was
even want
speaking to
start
someone
up that crap.
yeah.
Yeah, look, it'll bring back trauma memories. It was a bit rough, but I was talking to someone at work in my old job who was quite smart, got a few degrees and some fancy stuff or whatever, And this person had sort of mentioned to me that, oh, I'm not taking the shot. It's more like gene therapy or something. And then there was a few days there where we were told, wear a mask even if you're by yourself in your car. And I mentioned it to this person. I'm like, can you believe that? And this person's like, yeah, it was sort of fogging up my glasses on the way to work as I was doing that. I'm just like, okay, like, how do people like go along with this stuff, you know? Anyway, I don't know if that was worth adding, but I just, when you're talking about people going along with all these crazy things, telling on their neighbors, wearing masks, and yeah, even like quite intelligent people that sort of know, they still get wrapped up in it.
Well, what's always crazy to me is that how many people are just willing to do something, even if it doesn't pass the common sense test. Like, you know, it's like, as long as we're doing something, as long as we're like wearing masks, it makes us feel like we're accomplishing something. You know, I just saw, I don't even know why it popped up in my feed the other day, but it was, you know, from the COVID time, this guy's like checking out at the grocery store, and the lady rings up his groceries, and he got that big plastic shield in front of him and her, and she tells him the price, and he takes his card and he like jams it into the glass barrier. She's like, no, sir, you got to come around here. And so he comes around there. He's like, then what is this for? And, you know, that really does kind of sum up how ridiculous some of the restrictions and some of the things that we bought into and during COVID. I mean, I hope we really document how idiotic American society and really Western society, especially everywhere, was with this. And we look back, and I hope you know, people in the future look back and laugh at us how stupid we were. You know, wearing cloth masks that do absolutely nothing. You know, wearing them for days on end, weeks on end. You talk about spreading germs, disease, and just nasty. You know, it's just so ridiculous. And we're willing to do anything. And it goes back to even like the gun control debate. Like, you're not going to get rid of guns in the United States. And I know there was just a mass shooting here in Minnesota at a private school. But the fact of the matter is, you know, like, if you're going to do something, how about we start locking up people that commit gun crimes? Those are the people that we've let out multiple times. But yet what they really want to do is lock up law-abiding gun owners. So, I mean, it's just one of these things that hopefully people start to use a little common sense, because we are so easily fooled as a society. There's so many.
Yeah, I think people are starting to come around a little bit more, especially with everything that's gone on with this past election and whatnot. That
Just one more thing.
People are starting to wake up.
Just one more thing.
Just one more thing. I've always
just one more. Just play one more thing.
We had some pretty severe restrictions along the state borders. I'm in Queensland and New South Wales. Can't remember all the details, and I almost have to double check this because it sounds too hard to believe. But I'm pretty sure at some points over the border, we couldn't see family members. We couldn't see a funeral just over on the town on the other side of a family member or whatever.
There was restrictions because I was there in 2021. There was restrictions. Number one, I stayed in quarantine for 2 weeks in a hotel that's the size of a bathroom in Sydney. That was fun. Mm-hmm. And then we were flying to different embassies and consulates. Well, the embassy and different consulates all around the country, and we had to get special. We had to get special permission to go across those borders, because at the time they weren't letting people go from one state to the next in Australia, which I thought was absolutely crazy to me.
Yeah, I moved to Honduras during all of that, and they didn't have any restrictions.
Yeah, restrictions didn't seem to make a whole lot of difference, it seems. I don't know. I haven't really looked into that too much. But yeah, I think we had some kind of contraption where you could hug people on the other side of the border through sort of like holes in a like a plastic mesh with a place you could put your arms around, so you could sort of hug your relative on the other side of the state through like plastic mesh. I have to double check. As I said, it sounds too crazy to even believe, but I'm pretty sure I remember seeing something like that.
You had to put arm condoms on?
Yeah.
Now, Adam Busing here, he brings up something interesting. This is one of the things that is if you really get into the UFO, UAP, and USO, and for those of you that don't know what USO is, that's unidentified submerged object. Folks, there are the unidentified submerged objects and or transmedium objects where you have, you know, these flying, these UAPs that are flying multiple thousands of hours, miles per hour, and then they go right into the water seamlessly without breaking apart, like completely physically impossible. And then the U.S. Navy, there's some things that have been unclassified where they talk about they have readings of objects moving at like multiple times the speed of sound through water. Which again is one of those things that should be physically impossible, but it's nuts when you get into the USO side of things. I think that is very, very interesting to say the least. Yeah. Hey, for those of you who haven't done so already, make sure you like, subscribe, all those good things. That helps us out, guys. Like this doesn't cost you anything. Just hit that like button. Hit that like button, please. We appreciate it. This costs you nothing except hitting the freaking like button. And then if you want to be a real awesome person, go ahead and subscribe and hit that little bell icon that tells you when we make new content like this. Gary has dancing kangaroos. I do have dancing kangaroos. We were just talking about the other day. You guys down in the comments below, this was the debate between me and Chris that a bald eagle would just completely F up a kangaroo. It's just a dominant, dominant.
Yes.
I've already told
in fact,
it will actually come down. It will fly to 10,000 feet. It will break the sound barrier, diving down into the kangaroo's fanny pack right there, and it will eat it from the inside out. It won't even know what hit him. That's what bald eagles do. America.
If you remember, Gary showed me a picture of a dead kangaroo with a bald eagle there, total victory. And I noticed the fine print. It says bald eagles, they have to do this in packs. Okay, it's not a one-on-one. Okay, the bald eagle knows not to go one-on-one with a kangaroo. It has to do it with a couple of them.
First of all, here in America, we actually like our national animal. You guys run them over. You run them over. You hunt them. They're considered pests. Let's be real.
Bald eagles are majestic creatures.
I still think we should have bald eagles for Thanksgiving. I think it should be.
That would be it.
Yeah, as I said, I accidentally hit a kangaroo on the highway, and I found it quite sad. This is my country's animal.
You're lying. You are lying. You did not feel bad at all.
I did. I still feel bad.
Absolutely.
You might make me cry if we talk about it too much. But everyone else thought it was funny. They're just pests. You just need to get a nice bull bar. We eat them. I'm a bit more patriotic. I say let's treat the kangaroos with a bit of reverence. But that's just me.
Yeah, this is actually also a great question. What do we think the end state of Syria is going to be? And I know, Chris, you've studied both Ukraine and Syria at a pretty high level. I've had friends fighting over in Syria. That started off like right after I got out. I almost got back in because of that fight. Once Trump got into office, he unleashed special operations. Guys were going over there and doing their jobs for the first time in a long time. And they were going over there and they were whacking bad guys left and right. I am curious to see what's going to be the end state in Syria. What's your thoughts on that, Chris?
I'm not as much of an expert I'm not really an expert at all on Syria. But just like you were saying with Trump, Trump did some good things there with Syria. And you'll notice after Trump came in, that was sort of the end of ISIS. But a big part of that was not just the American operations there. A big part of it was Russia. And dare I say, Hezbollah and Iran were fighting against ISIS a fair bit in other parts of Syria. But I think one of the best thing Trump did was he put a stop to, I don't know if it's directly that Operation Sycamore or some other sort of funding thing where the US was sending equipment of some kind, maybe some training to the rebels. And they said they were giving it to the moderate rebels. We're vetting. We're not giving it to ISIS. We're not giving it to Al-Qaeda or Al-Nusra or whatever it is, the Syria version of Al-Qaeda, basically. We're giving it to the moderate rebels that have nice democratic Western values that we. But wouldn't you know it, the weapons that the Americans would give to these moderate rebels would somehow just end up in the hands of ISIS or Al-Nusra or whatever. And when Trump came in, he just stopped that. And that was a big part of ISIS getting rolled back. In a way, it was the stopping of American funding to the rebels that really helped knock down ISIS. Because, basically you had all kind of jihadi extremists that were trying to topple the Assad government. And as bad as Assad may be, he's not Al-Qaeda. He's a strongman, somewhat secular leader who's not a religious extremist or whatever. And the rebellion that is sort of trumped up, and I haven't really followed too closely what's happening now, But the new guys, the government that seems in power, seem pretty closely tied. I can't imagine who else they would be. The main faction fighting Assad were extremists, and I imagine they have their own country now. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I don't think it's a good thing. And the interesting thing with Israel, one of their ministers made the comment. They basically said, we would rather ISIS in Syria than Iran. Because, they say Iran was helping Assad. But they're basically saying we'd rather ISIS take over Syria than leave Assad in power, which is crazy to me. And the new government, I think, has already said they will be quite friendly with Israel in some fashion. I don't know how into the weeds we'll get with this one. Maybe there's a side thing, but just very interesting developments, and we're not hearing too much. And possibly the drone is a distraction from that because there's still explosions going on, even though it's supposed to be over, I guess. But I don't know if you saw that footage of that massive explosion not too long ago. I'm not sure what's going on there, but because Russia's there, they got bases. You were saying America has the bases, and maybe Russia has to leave. Maybe Russia did a deal with the new government. I don't know what's going on exactly, but yeah, we're a little bit more focused with drones and other things. So could be a distraction from Syria and other things as well.
100%. And just kind of put the pin in the UAV and drone issue. The point of this podcast, the intent that I had with this, number one, is try to inform you with the information that we have, which is murky at best. The other part of this is, keep your head on a swivel. Look, I think it's just to make sure that people understand that our politicians will continually, just like Rahm Emanuel said, never let a crisis go to waste, right? They will continually use different events like this, and they will manipulate the American people into allowing them to do things that under normal circumstances, when we have a good head on our shoulders and aren't afraid, allow them to do. Ultimately, I think there's new reports as we were kind of preparing for this. Even today, there was new reports, new information coming out constantly. I think there's a lot of possibilities out there. I don't think that they're an immediate threat, but I do think there's a lot of sensationalism taking place, both on the psychological operations side as well as just people taking advantage of this for likes, clicks, views, all that stuff. And it is what it is. So I think we need to be aware of that. And of course, we can branch off and talk about other things as we tend to do, which always happens when we have, we can either stay on track and do this, or we can actually take a look at your comments, and some of your comments are on different subjects, and we want to address those. So, I don't know. I don't know what Trump's plan is. I would like to have seen throughout the years, SF, what we do is we go to different countries, we help advise and assist other special operations teams. We train them, we work with them through and with the country, the host country, to conduct operations that are beneficial to the United States, right? So, we've been working in the Philippines and South America. 7th group's in South America. First group covers the Southeast Asia, so I spend a lot of time in the Philippines. They work with Thailand and a lot of other places. And, the reality is, like Philippines, for instance, Mindanao, the southern island, which is where I spent a lot of time, they basically just gave up on fighting terrorism, and now it's just containment of several different terrorist organizations. They just want to kind of contain them down in Mindanao and not spread to the rest of the country. But I would like to see, we've never really done that. We call JSETs, Joint Special Operations Exchange Training Programs. So we've never, Joint Country Exchange Training Programs. We've never done that with Mexico that I'm aware of. And I would like to have seen more of that taking place, given that they are our southern partner. And I don't know why this has never been the case. It may just be the will of the Mexican government. They may not want us down there helping them with that. But hopefully we do see more operations that are going to limit the ability of the cartels down there to control as much space and just limit their operations in general. I don't know if that's going to take place or not. We'll see. That will be interesting.
Did you want to play any of these little clips I got teed up?
Yeah,
from the
what other
hearings,
clips you
all the
got?
Things we have sort of mentioned. We sort of briefly covered a lot of the stuff that's sort of in here, but it still might be worth maybe just share my tab.
Yep. Metal Seer, we will address that in a moment. I do want to bring that up, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I got many thoughts on that. Chris, tab. There you go.
So I think, and I haven't got these up specifically, precisely, but I think this is where we talk about this.
With
this
the
bill that's
enactment of the
expiring. This is, someone from the FBI.
2018 Preventing Emergency Threats Act, With the enactment of the 2018 Preventing Emergency Threats Act, the FBI was granted the authority necessary to mitigate a range of UAS threats in the protection of special events, emergency response, federal investigations, personnel, and facilities. Specifically, the legislation authorizes DOJ and our partners at DHS to conduct counter-UAS operations in limited circumstances to identify, track, and mitigate credible threats. I'd stress the importance for reauthorization of the counter-UAS authorities, as you know, expire December 20th. Failure to extend the authorities beyond then would cause significant impacts on our ability to protect the public. A durable extension is also extremely important. Our experience has taught us that short-term extensions to counter-UAS authority effectively prevent the Bureau and our partners from budgeting and staffing in ways which would allow us to execute a long-term strategy. We know that Congress is considering extensions of 5 years or more, and we thank you for that consideration. The FBI strongly supports pursuing expanded counter-UAS authorities for state, local, tribal, and territorial partners as robustly and swiftly as prudently possible. SLTT partners have repeatedly informed us that existing counter-UAS authorities are inadequate. Since our counter-UAS authority was granted in 2019,
he kind of keeps going on with the same thing with that, but that's, sort of, that's the thing. It's expiring in a couple of days.
Hey, look, we have whatever this extended authority is. I don't even know what that authorization allows them to do. Do you have a synopsis of that, Chris?
No, I wasn't able to check it, but just from the context, it's like, I think it allows them to get more information. No, actually, I'm getting a few things mixed up. I'm not sure exactly. That's probably the best way for me to put it. But it's some authorities they have to deal with drones. And there's that other act, which is sort of tied in. They're trying to pass it. The HR 8160, it was introduced months ago, and they're trying to push it through. That has something to do with a bunch of other things that I haven't looked at. But one of them is trying to get more data, probably to require drone operators to broadcast more data than they currently have to, or something. And there was some comparison made to basically when you're in a manned plane or whatever, excuse me, you give off all this information, whereas drones, it's different. And it's like they were trying to make drones sort of the same as if you're flying a plane, and you have to give out the same kind of information. Does that make sense?
It does. And folks, I want us to think about, here's what I want you to think about. When the U.S. government looks at what's going on in Ukraine, where you have very low cost, fairly unsophisticated systems being able to take out the drones, being able to take out multi-million-dollar tanks and other weapons and equipment, as well as provide ISR support, surveillance report information with very low cost, low sophistication. Like you can take these, anybody can fly these drones. And so you have a weaker force, an unconventional force, essentially, that are able to use this technology to overpower a larger force. And I want you to think about how the American government would look at that if as an uprising of its own populace, right? And I think there's some provisions or some restrictions being put in place, because I do think that we have a government that is fearful of the American people. Now, again, one of the things I've always said is I don't think that we should have military law enforcement that have access to firearms and weapons that the civilian populace don't. If we are a government of, for, and by the people, then if we have a government that's set up to dominate the people, then that's not what exists, right? We outside of nuclear weapons and things like that, we are supposed to be equal with the government. That's how this government was formed, is very clear. And I think that if the government is going to have basic drone technology, all right, then the U.S. civilian populace should have basic drone technology as well. And I do think that they look at that is, it's not what the threat that it poses now, but the threat that it poses 15, 20 years from now, or whatever it is. And if they can squash that now, and they can make us get used to the idea that, hey, this is technology that's just set up for use by the government. The American people don't get it, just like they did with the NFA Act, the 1986 Firearms Act as well. The idea now is like, oh, it's crazy if civilians have full auto weapons. Well, that is not how things were ever meant to be. I think those are wholly unconstitutional. And yes, it is, liberty is dangerous. We have to accept some of the dangers that come with a free populace. And I do think that there's certain factions within the government that do a risk analysis. If they ever want to impose restrictions on Americans that are unconstitutional and that would cause the American people to uprise and use things like drones to fight it back against a more sophisticated federal government, I think that scares the shit out of them. And I do think that there is a calculus being done now for future capabilities and to withhold that from the American people. So, that's me putting my tri-tip tinfoil hat on.
Yeah.
But I believe that 100%.
That makes a lot of sense. And with the guy that I showed before from the global systems or whatever, I'll probably show him again later. You might have heard him mention before, I think I played it, he said, I hate to beat a dead horse, but let's talk about Ukraine. They're doing really well. There's a lot of talk about Ukraine, how just with this small little drone technology, they're able to take on a massive army. And he's more arguing in the sense that we need to, I'm not 100% sure, but I got the impression he was talking more about we need to get that kind of offense so we can use those little drones because they're quite effective. But when you said that just now, it's like, well, they know that a little country like Ukraine can use drones and pose a serious threat to the bigger Russian army. I think that ties in what you were saying about them being fearful of the American populace. They could get little drones. They could take on maybe the government that's much bigger with smaller factions. So I think you might be onto something there. There are, yeah.
Hey, real quick, I want to clarify. So we will still have our Dangerous Liberty show on Wednesday. I have a really cool guest coming on Wednesday, by the way. I think you guys will really like it. Our goal with this Counter Media podcast is to do a separate podcast that's kind of outside the realm of 2A, that's in conjunction with myself and other folks like Chris and Nate. And we got some other people that are working on it that are helping. Really what they're doing is they're helping produce the show, do a lot of research for the show. Very interesting doing this, and hopefully both of those things will take off. But we will still have a podcast on Wednesday. I'll be posting that either late tonight or tomorrow. But I'm really excited about that podcast. That is a topic that I've been wanting to have a specialist on, and you'll understand what I mean when I post that tomorrow. But make sure you join us Wednesday at 7 p.m. and I think you guys will really enjoy that as well. No, I think you're right, Chris. I think there's a fear. Look, as technology advances, whether it's firearms or, this goes back to the idea that, the Second Amendment only applied to muskets. Well, I would also counter that the Second Amendment applies to drones, because drones can be used as an offensive or defensive technology that can be used by the average citizen for a multitude of things. It gives them a lot of capabilities, whether it's surveillance of their own property. We have commercial drone pilots that are doing things for recreational as well as commercial uses, survey and mapping. They can be used for a lot of different things. And I think that we need to make sure that we need to be aware and make sure that we don't allow the government to trick us out of giving up that capability as civilians and citizens.
Yeah,
agreed.
If you want to,
yeah. No, I know that there's a big drone community that is that's been fighting back against getting drones banned. I do know that for sure, because I use a drone for a multitude of things, from taking pictures, from surveying where I'm going to go. Like if I find a waterfall that I want to go to take photos, what do? I put the drone up there first, go see if it's even worth hiking in a half a mile. And then speaking on the using drones, for nefarious things, no matter what, there's going to be people that are going to do that. But until this war in Ukraine, we have never seen drones been utilized for that. And then now that it's been so successful, they're losing their shit and freaking out about what people are going to do with drones from here on out.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a big part.
Has anyone? So we got that comment up that's talking about radioactive material went missing in New Jersey shipment. I'm actually seeing some damaged shipping container and missing radioactive material raising questions in New Jersey. This report is from, I'm not seeing a freaking date on this thing.
This is the first time I've ever heard of it.
This one. I've just heard, this idea of missing nuclear material, but I haven't really looked into it yet.
Here's a report from the Philippines from today, talking about radioactive material and public threat. How dangerous is it? United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission has confirmed troubling incident involving the disappearance of radioactive material from New Jersey. The material classified as less than Category 3 has sparked widespread alarm across the country. I'm still not seeing when this was first reported. Trying to find
and they're saying that's confirmed by the American government. That'd probably be good to track that down if that exists.
Yeah, and if
I haven't heard of that.
If that's true, I mean, I think that's a really good explanation for what's going on out there. I'm seeing reports from yesterday, from the Daily
So
Mail.
the idea being that would explain a lot of drones that are out there looking for this stuff. Is that what the?
So that was December 2nd. A piece of medical equipment used for cancer scans was shipped from NASA Cancer Center in Newfield on December 2nd for disposal, but the shipping container arrived at its destination damaged and empty. The device, known as a pen source, contained a small amount of germanium-68 that is used to calibrate medical scanners. Actually, if handled without proper gear, can cause radiation poison. Oh, that's it's kind of a big deal. It doesn't seem like they're that concerned. This is the shipment deemed less than Category 3, meaning it could cause permanent injury if mishandled. I don't know if that could be used to create like a dirty bomb situation, but that is a really good explanation of what is going on there. That's for sure. So that's interesting. But again, that could be true, but we could also, everything else we just said is a possibility as well, that they're still capitalized. Like, why would they not just say that? Like, hey, you know what? We have some drones out. This has been reported in the news. We want to try to track this down. We can use these drones to do it. Now, they may not be doing that because they're scared that if whoever stole that will now put some sort of countermeasures in place, put it in some sort of container, or try to hide it where they normally wouldn't be. So, that could be a good.
Could they be concerned about not talking about that to not start a panic? I mean, that doesn't sound like a consideration the government would.
Well, I mean, we had the whole things missing on trains or trains crashing and then chemicals being leaked, this and that. We haven't had the best track record here the past couple years.
Yeah. Let me address this question real quick. So I spent a lot of money several years ago on a drone. That was before they enacted what they considered basically the Part 107 license for drones. So I used to create some content using drones. Before I really even had a YouTube channel or did anything on the YouTube channel. I think I started a YouTube channel way back when, but I never started posting things till like I think 2020, somewhere around there. Really started making videos. But the thing with drone footage, if people don't know, first of all, if you have a YouTube channel that have over 1,000 subscribers, you are now potentially earning money, or you're earning something regardless of what's going on, right? So if you put drone footage on there and it was not taken by a 107 licensed operator, you could be fined a lot of money. There was even people on YouTube where they posted drone footage before their YouTube channel was monetized, and the FAA went after them for footage that was posted on there prior to them being monetized. So that is something that you need to be really aware of. I have friends that also have YouTube channels and stuff like that. They're out there filming with a drone. I'm like, bro, like you can get a $10,000 fine because they consider that now a commercial purpose. And you can be fined for not having a commercial license to have that footage on there. So that's something that people do need to be aware of. And it's also just nonsense. Like that shouldn't be the case. But, they got to get their money and they got to regulate. This is a great comment. Drone restrictions are the new gun restrictions. All this mystery around drones could be smoke. Show to distract from many things. Also create fear of drones. Absolutely.
That's where I'm at too. So
Yep. I think that.
I've got a few more more
Yep.
things teed up from the hearings in my share screen.
Share my
whatever,
screen one
if
more
you
time.
wanna- One more? Is that it? One more? Hang on.
One more.
One more. If it's one, I'll have to pick my best
This one?
thing. Or yeah. So there's similar thing.
Okay.
I might try and knock out a couple of things. I put down the timestamp. So here it's something to do with. Yeah. So he's just backing up the 10 days. We need the more.
As has just been
authority.
said, our current authorities will lapse within the next 10 days unless reauthorized. So our first priority is for Congress to reauthorize the existing law. But I know that this committee and others have also been working on legislation to go well beyond that. And we are eager to work with Congress on a bill that will help keep the American people safe.
So that's sort of ties
This is
in what I was
very
saying
much
before.
like the information required to be broadcast.
Yeah, so this is maybe what they want.
The
What I was saying before, they want similar data to what they get from planes or something.
Location of the drone, the location of the controller, used to control drones. Nor do they allow law enforcement to listen to voice calls.
Yeah, so they're like, they keep saying, we want to do this, that, and the other, but don't worry, we're not going to restrict your privacy or civil liberties or whatever.
No, they want to
activities.
find
Direct
new and novel ways to prosecute you, fine you, and make money off the American people. That's what half of law enforcement ends up being about.
Yeah.
Activities. They do not extract text messages, email, or internet search histories from phones or tablets used to control drones, nor do they allow law enforcement to listen to voice calls. We collect information such as the drone vendor and model, the
Pause it
drone
real
and
quick,
controlling device serial number.
All right, if they say they're not going to do that, they are specifically
They're gonna
going
do
to do every bit of that. Just
Exactly.
set the record straight. They will have access to your phone. They will have access to all your information. And they're like, oh, well, we just got into the phone for this reason. It's predicated on that. But then, oh, hey, you know what? We stumbled across this. And now next thing you know, you're, I don't know, you were 10 miles away from a protest in Washington. And now you're in a gulag in Washington and without a lawyer or anything else for a couple of years. Luckily, that never happened.
My note for this timestamp in my notes basically just says, seeking similar data broadcast by manned systems will respect privacy and all that. So that was my little summation of this bit.
The geolocation of the drone, the location of the controller, and the most recent takeoff and home location. This is very much like the information required to be broadcast by manned aircraft, and which is now required under FAA's remote ID regulation to be broadcast by drones as well. And we use this information to further investigate when a crime involving a drone is suspected. As required in current law, DOJ would continue to have guidance that contains explicit protections for privacy and civil liberties and associated training.
Trust him or what?
Yeah, because you got
state
such
and local
a great track record of people's respecting people's privacy and information.
Honestly, at least 10 times throughout this hearing, they're like, and of course we will respect basic civil, oh, maybe they don't say basic, but we will respect civil liberties and privacy. Of course, naturally.
Law enforcement, if empowered to engage in this activity, would be required to adhere to the same rules. I appreciate the opportunity to testify today and be happy to answer your questions.
What else I got here? Just
We
might go through a couple.
investigate then our regular guidelines of legal process and how we would maintain evidence apply. But we're very sensitive to privacy concerns
Of course.
and making sure we get it right and do it correctly.
All right. Thank you so much.
Hang on. I might have skipped.
This is exactly how
Congress
the
is
full
current-
FISA thing was sold to us, right? We're not going to spy on American people. We're only going to spy on foreign adversaries, and we're just going to get the metadata possibly from other people that are linked by, through, and with them. We're not gonna go after American citizens. We're not going to use this authority. We're not going to abuse this authority. And as we saw by the revelations of Edward Snowden, we know all of those systems were being abused by multiple agencies. So, you take that for what it's worth. You still got some more
They
going
tell
on
us
there.
there's a couple, they tell us there's nothing to worry about. But then by the time we realize there is something to worry about, it's already locked in and there's not much we can do about it. So that's why it's
Exactly.
good. If there is something wrong, it'd be good to oppose it beforehand, whatever they're up to.
Currently considering authorizing a pilot program for state, local, tribal, and territorial law enforcement agencies to operate CUAS technologies. Expanding these authorities must be done carefully, as doing so requires waiving wiretapping protections and other critical protections to protect privacy and civil liberties. How can we ensure the operation of such technologies, potentially by a large number of law enforcement agencies, will be closely coordinated with and overseen by federal authorities? Mr. Wigman, most critically, how can we protect privacy and civil liberties?
Thank you for the question. So if the pilot program, the state and local pilot program that you mentioned is adopted, there would have to be, the law would require training for all state.
I think this guy's from the Department of Justice, not 100% sure, but I think that's
Local officials. It would also require them to follow the same procedures that my FBI colleague just mentioned in terms of the type of technology they can use, the type of data that they can collect, the rules of engagement, what type of facilities they can correct. So if they do it safely, they'd have to work with the FAA. All of their activities would have to be approved by DHS and Department of Justice working with FAA. So it's quite a labor-intensive kind of process that we're envisioning under the state.
All of that turns into a rubber stamp. And, you know, this is one of the things that really aggravates me, and most people don't. I don't know. I don't see a lot of people talking about that. The greatest civil liberty violations that have ever taken place in this country have been done in the name of crime prevention. I don't want anything hardly in the place of crime prevention. You know what prevents crimes? When you actually go after the people that commit crimes and then put them in jail for a really long time. That's what prevents crimes. It's a deterrent. Like giving federal authorities, state and local authorities, all this ability to spy on us in the name of prevention is some crazy stuff out there. You know, that's what we need to stay away from without a doubt.
Yeah, it's almost like they'd rather people commit all the crimes, maybe this is a bit simplistic, but then they can do what they want to do. They're more concerned about that than actually stopping the crime, because then there's no justification for whatever they want.
100%. 100%. Did you have any more videos on that you wanted to share, Chris?
Yeah, I got heaps. I won't be able to, probably more than we'll actually have time to go through it. But yeah, just swing it back to me again. Where are we? 230. Oh, wait. 5220.
And a lot, you've also said, several of you have made the point that, you know, how you intercept data to prevent intruding on privacy and only certain types of data. And I must tell you, that has a sophistication level I don't really understand. Why not just have a rule that anybody who flies a drone near a mass spectator event, the drone's going to be destroyed in the air? Is that something that it'd be hard to do? And then why do you need to intercept data in order to do that? If the object is there, destroy it.
So it's a good question. I think the way it works, as I understand it, and my colleagues can talk about this operationally, if you had, let's say, a football game, and you would have a perimeter, it would be declared as a temporary flight restricted area.
Okay.
So around that, you're going to have a buffer zone. You have an area where it's a no-go, and then you have a larger area around that where you might want to detect what's flying, and then you have a larger area around that where you might be tracking, but regular commercial drone use is okay. And so as they're getting closer and closer to the facility, you're detecting originally the signals to see what is that drone. You're trying to identify a drone. Oh, is that a UPS? Is that
like a long distance radar or something like that?
Exactly. So is that a UPS drone that's just delivering a package somewhere? Let it go on its way. Is it getting closer right into the zone where you're going to have to do something against it? So it's kind of a calibrated thing, and as you get closer and closer, then that's where you take the opportunity to use the technology to jam it. Is most frequently rather than destroy the drone. You're interfering with its navigation in a way that.
So this might be getting into the weeds. I don't know if we should go further, but I've got another clip as well. 1845. Oh,
my budget.
What did you say? Kane, big fan of John Cullen. He loves. He's sort of geeing him up for you need more money, don't you?
You guys, the FBI was spending on counter the people responsible behind that, and that's what we're working on. Yeah. What did you say the FBI was spending on counter drone? My budget that would specifically include the technology that we use. Is it 500,000? It's 500,000.
What?
that doesn't seem nearly adequate. Why do you feel like there isn't a push within the FBI to keep up with modern warfare and modern threats?
So we're
What is the budget for the FBI right now?
roughly 11 billion.
I don't know if we need to go much further on
Okay,
that one. But
why
just,
why do
it
you
almost
think
seems like
as
the team.
warfare changes?
You need more money,
as
don't you?
know,
Oh,
sir,
I suppose,
warfare
yeah,
is
we could have more money.
changing
If you
drastically
insist.
right now overseas,
Setting it up.
especially.
Yeah, it's just setting it up and spiking it, ready to spike it. Yeah, we need more money. More money fixes all things. It's really helped with our education system here in the United States. One thing I do want to kind of circle back on. Did you got anything more on drones, Chris or Nate?
Nope.
I've just got.
I mean, just to say the DJI, system in order to fly and everything and how they track you is fairly decent from what I can see from using it. So the fact that they need more money for something is a bunch of BS.
Yeah. I just have a few things teed up from the Pentagon conference with that lady and then the Kirby conference, which at least one of them, maybe both, I think would be worth. Oh, I haven't got my screen shared there yet. Just wait.
You're falling behind.
That.
Yeah, this is one of those things that once you open up Pandora's box, this is incrementalism at its worst, right? This is what we see every single time. Like, oh, it's the same thing that we're doing with commercial airliners and planes and stuff right now. It's just the same thing. We're just gonna do it, with drones, and it's just the easy way to just a little bit of freedom at a time, and the next thing you know, you got none whatsoever. I mean, that is the strategy. It's worked on the American people. It's proven. Like, wake up, people. They just, I don't know what else to say to that. There you go. I'll add that.
And these clips, it almost seems like they're doing a little bit of good cop, bad cop, whereas we've just heard, from that other senator about the Iran mothership and other people in that hearing. It's like, it's a big threat. We need more money, don't we? And then we have sort of the good cop side, or however you want to frame the analogy or whatever. This lady and John Kirby, they're like, look, there's nothing to worry about. And people are like, what do you mean there's nothing to worry about? I saw all these videos. I spoke to such and such. He saw a bunch of things in the sky. But this clip that we're going to show, plus John Kirby, they're sort of doing the other side where it's like there's nothing really to worry about. Yeah. And I think they might even sort of be correct in a way, possibly. It doesn't seem like it because we've seen so much stuff. But anyway, we might come back to that. But just, this is the sort of there's nothing to see here kind of thing, which people don't like. But they might be sort of correct here, but just in the context of everything else, they look kind of foolish by saying this stuff, but they could be right. I don't know. I put it to you, the viewer, to decide.
Address this issue of drone sightings over New Jersey. It's near sensitive installations. The FBI is involved. What is the Pentagon doing?
Sure. So at this time, aware of those drone sightings that have been reported, at this time, we have no evidence that these activities are coming from a foreign entity or the work of an adversary. We're going to continue to monitor what is happening, but, at no point were our installations threatened when this activity was occurring.
Can you rule out that these are American drones or U.S. military drones?
These are not U.S. military drones. Again, this is being investigated by local law enforcement. What our initial assessment here is that these are not drones or activities coming from a foreign entity or adversary.
Representative Jeff Van Drew, who is a
That's who we saw before, talking about Iran.
Republican from New Jersey, was just on the air saying that Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones, and that mothership is off the coast of the east coast of the United States. Is there any truth to that?
There is not any truth to that. There is no Iranian ship off the coast of the United States, and there's no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States.
So I got one more. Let me stop sharing that, and then I'll bring
real quick
thing.
before you move on. I want to address what she said. She said that state and local law enforcement are investigating that. First of all, state and local law enforcement don't have jurisdiction over that. That's an FAA issue. So that right there, I don't doubt that they're investigating that, but that is a federal jurisdiction. That is not a state and local jurisdiction thing. They don't even have the resources or capabilities to really. They can find the guy on the ground. Sure, but ultimately they're not able to investigate that to any great detail.
You want to load up share my screen again? So this is Kirby, sort of saying the same thing. There's nothing to see here. And in a way, you might be kind of right, but who knows?
Status. And of course, we've requested from Congress more visa numbers so that we can continue to do that. Now, finally, I just want to add a few
It's a bit softer, but that's about as loud as I can go, I think.
comments on the reports of drone activity here on the East Coast, particularly in and around New Jersey. We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating these sightings, and they're working closely with state and local law enforcement to provide resources using numerous detection methods to better understand their origin. Using very sophisticated electronic detection technologies provided by federal authorities, we have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully. The United States Coast Guard is providing support to the state of New Jersey and has confirmed that there is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels. And importantly, there are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. Now, that said, we certainly take seriously the threat that can be posed by unmanned aircraft systems, which is why law enforcement and other agencies continue to support New Jersey and investigate the reports, even though they have uncovered no malicious activity or intent at this particular stage. While there is no known malicious activity occurring, the reported sightings there do, however, highlight a gap in authorities. And so we urge Congress to pass important legislation that will extend and expand existing counter-drone authorities so that we are better prepared to identify and mitigate any potential threats to airports or other critical infrastructure, and so that state and local authorities are provided all the tools that they need to respond to such threats as well. Now,
so that's interesting. I didn't even write that part, because he's sort of basically saying there's nothing really to worry about. But at the same time, we should pass all those laws that they want, that are probably going to get passed because people think there is something to worry about.
The government always thinks they have a gap in authority. It's odd.
Yeah, so that might be it. Trump has commented on it. Have you seen Trump's video?
No, I
guess he had
haven't.
a press conference or something. I haven't seen it yet, so we can watch it for the first time. Maybe let me just share that one. Where are we? Present screen. So
While you're finding that, I want to talk about this real quick. So we're talking about the New York City CEO murder. Most of you guys know I originally released a short saying I thought this guy was a pro. Number one, what I will say, and I ended up releasing another video saying, hey, look, I got that part wrong without a doubt. And I got some things, and I got over my skis, right? Anytime that I'm wrong, you guys are gonna hear me admit it. I usually don't speculate like that. I'm usually a little bit more careful. I'm a little more disciplined on what I say and how I say that. And I wasn't so much on that. With that being said, I do think what I saw in that video, and I stand by this, was a level of sophistication that I don't think is explained at this moment. I still believe that. His gun handling, his ability to react to failure to fire, failure to feed, and correct a malfunction as quickly as he did was in the lack of any sort of hesitation whatsoever to do that is something that you don't even see with very well-trained gun handlers. He at a minimum has practiced with that gun. He expected those things to happen. The other thing that I find very odd was the lack of evidence coming out of Manhattan. Folks, in Manhattan, there is 1,000 freaking video cameras. The small amount of evidence that we did gather that ultimately got him caught is peculiar to me. The fact that he knew the time and place and opportunity to shoot that guy. The other thing, that New York City CEO, he had a security detail. He just didn't have it at that moment. And then on top of that, he knew when, where, and then he had a bike pre-positioned. Like, there's a level of sophistication, planning, and execution in that boggles my mind to this day. So I'm just going to say it. And with that being said, it's the totality of the events. Not just like he was such a great gun handler. I know he shot the guy in the leg, all those things, but it's not just that. The fact that he showed up with a suppressor to begin with. And then all the weird thing, he used a fake ID, had multiple fake IDs that were actually very well made. that, again, a level of sophistication we don't normally see. He ended up getting caught 5 days later after we have this massive manhunt that I guarantee include the FBI, all of our other surveillance assets that were being directed at him. He was still able to evade for as long as he did. That to me is crazy. And I don't think that's been explained yet. There's some other weird things. Now, I do think ultimately we have a person that's highly intelligent that was able to pull this thing off. There was definitely, in my mind, there's no question about the fact that I think there was some rehearsals involved in all of this. I still don't understand how he knew when and where he was going to be at the exact location, to have a bike just on the other side of that, to react so quickly. Like, none of it makes sense. And you know what? The other thing is weird stuff just happens. And I've kind of come to accept that, like, hey, this is just a person that, again, was more sophisticated than the average criminal, that was able to plan this out for whatever reason. I don't know where he got the information. I don't know if he's just doing surveillance the entire time. But, you know, when you're doing pre-attack surveillance, you're looking for vulnerability and opportunity, and he was able to, and location and time, and he was able to capture all that. That is no small feat. So, I said what I said, and I also, came back and said, hey, you know what? I got those portions wrong, and I did. But there's other elements of that have yet to be explained that I think are really weird. I always go back to that footage that shows him in I guess it was a Starbucks or something like that. There's part of me that says, hey, that doesn't look like that guy. But, sometimes footage is not great to begin with. And then sometimes weird things happen. And I think that ultimately is one of the case, and maybe it is what it is on the surface of it, but it is one of the most peculiar events that we've seen captured on film. And I'll kind of leave it at that. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add to that.
I don't know too much about it. Maybe it's a possible future show.
From opining before.
Well, okay. Here's what happened. All right. No, I don't know. I don't know if you want to actually show the footage or you want me to jump to the Trump footage. See, I've got it.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So this is the thing. So yeah, viewers, this is a guy getting shot. You can't really see much, but just, I don't know. People are a bit sensitive. That's what's going on here.
Oh yeah, I'd be careful about we're gonna get
You reckon?
We're gonna get striked for that.
These are just actors.
No, it's okay.
It's just a fake video.
We'll get demonetized, but I don't care. We get demonetized for anything. I'm sure something else we said here got us demonetized anyhow at some point. YouTube
probably something you said, I think. Not me. I'm community guidelines all the way. I'm very careful. But I don't know.
I don't doubt it.
You're a little Australian earlier before, so I don't know.
Bend the knee to the crown.
Yeah.
So I got Trump. I haven't heard what he says here. I think you guys haven't either. I don't know if people in the crowd have heard. But yeah.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people. And they should, because the people are really, they happen to be over Bedminster. Want to know the truth? They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Have you been?
Do you have any reason to think they're a threat?
Two quick questions. First.
And if you could just, I'll stop that and maybe, comment maybe and share my screen again. I've got something else Trump related to show.
You got another video? That's weird.
Oh, just one more play. I just wanted just one more, Gary.
Technically, it's not a video. It is a truth social. All right. So let's just get it all right. Okay. So we've got this one. All right. Trump's got to figure it out.
Do you have the Harris one? Because I love the Harris one.
No, not handy.
Oh, you failed me.
Yep.
Well,
Yet
I
again.
thought you would have had that one. I thought we discussed that in plan. I have the Christie one, you have the Harris one, but miscommunication. But yeah, so this is what he said a couple of days ago, or a day, or whenever it was, a couple of days ago.
There's another one that shows Harris getting delivered booze by a swarm of drones. That was pretty amazing as well.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I love
So, yeah,
the fact
Trump-
that we have a president that would just dunk on Chris Christie this way on social media.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just a great meme, you know.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, so that's funny. And yeah, so then he says, mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know, and now. Otherwise, shoot them down. DJT. There you go. So that was my
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, it is a federal offense if you shoot at a drone.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you can get in a lot of trouble.
Don't shoot at a drone. And that's another thing too. Like you don't have a lot of protections of privacy when it comes to a drone. I have a friend that is a drone pilot. What he told me is the FAA controls the airspace 2 inches above your property, and basically, it is only common courtesy if a drone operator is not like flying around your backyard. Now they can get in huge trouble if you want to report a drone and you want to get that drone pilot in a lot of trouble. If they're flying over people and you report that they're flying over people, that they will investigate that. Do with that information as you will, but you don't have a lot of privacy on that because you don't own your property above the ground, basically.
Yeah.
What'd you have here, Chris? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm basically done. But yeah, that was just this. People should look into that. I haven't actually read it yet. HA16. There are also these various press conferences. I haven't really gone through them yet, but everyone's a bit concerned. There was another follow-up. And that's about done. Oh, there was a video with... Oh, I did say one more video, so maybe I shouldn't look it up. But that Mayorkas gave a hearing somewhere, so that might be worth...
Well, I say we... stop here when it comes to the drones. Yep. And if we get more information, we can definitely do another podcast on drones. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, just going back to, somebody brought it up as well. The other thing that you see in that video, where did I see somebody talking about that? Regarding the CEO murder. Man, I had it right here. Yeah, so that's another thing that was really strange to me. The level of confidence at which he approached that, he wasn't paranoid, he wasn't nervous, he wasn't worried. Man, there's some really weird things about that. And I do, again, this is one of the things I've talked about a lot when it comes to the Butler incidents, and I take a lot of heat on it. I ultimately think that what you see is what you got. There's a lot of failures. I think there was a lot of incompetence involved. But sometimes weird things happen because the opportunity is there, and I've kind of come to accept the fact that I think with this particular incident in New York, we just have a radicalized kid that is rich, by the way. I mean, just his parents are filthy rich. He was given the best opportunities. He traveled all over the country. He's been to the best schools. He's traveled all over the world. He's a radicalized rich kid, and he's I don't know. Like the confidence in gun handling that we see there, like I don't see a lot of really good shooters. Definitely not like your average law enforcement would be able to address and remediate malfunctions as quickly, as confidently, and as smoothly as he did. So, that's my thought on it. I think there's a lot of weird things going on, but it doesn't mean that there's some mass conspiracy. It doesn't mean that, and again, never once did I think that people would say when I say, hey, I think this is a pro. I don't think there's John Wick. If those types of things do exist, like they're not going to expose themselves at this level. What I was saying was, hey, this is somebody that was a former military or law enforcement. And again, I got that wrong. And, I got it wrong. That's all I could say. And as soon as
what makes you think you're wrong on that one? How come you don't think it was?
Well, I don't think he was definitely not military or law enforcement. So
he's more just a rich kid. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, and I did make the assumption and jumped to a conclusion that this was a paid for hit. And that's what I thought. That's what I immediately thought and saw. And like I said, I got that part right. Got that part completely wrong. So no matter what, and again, after I kind of thought about it at the time, I was like, I just shouldn't have. No matter if I was proven right, I shouldn't have done that. And again, I'm usually very careful. Again, we want to be a trusted source of information for you. I don't believe in speculating. Unless it's something like this where we're talking about like, hey, what could this be? And it's very clear that we're speculating. I said those things very definitive, and it was incorrect for me to do so. It's just a fact, and I'm not going to do that in the future. It's just simple as that.
That's right. We forgive you, Gary. It's all right.
I don't really care if you forgive me. You're a freaking Australian. Yeah. Nobody cares.
I'm speaking for many people right now. Okay? It's just not just me. I'm sure there are some Americans that forgive you as well.
I just want everybody to know that Chris confided in me that one of his favorite pastimes is kicking koalas. I think that's very wrong.
Chris, are you kidding me? The truth comes
news.
Out. It's running over kangaroos.
Some kind of joke.
Next thing you know, Chris is going to get a knock at the door.
You're going to get me in trouble. The nature conservative wildlife people.
They're going to start controlling boots over there. Boots are a deadly weapon.
See, we eat kangaroos. Some people do, but we do not eat koalas. Okay, they're a little bit more lovable.
They're too cute.
And
no,
if you said
koalas,
I
those
kick
things are
kangaroos,
nasty, man.
Probably delicious.
People would be fine.
Well, all right. Well, Chris, you got anything else to add to the discussion?
Oh, heaps, but I just don't think I think.
No, I think you said that my input's been pretty good, Gary.
Nathan, your input has been amazing.
There's a bunch of videos that I could play, but I'm going to put those together, and you guys can catch them at Chris. This is where you're supposed to come in and say your social media.
Todd Nolan, of course, or Watchdog Media. Thank you.
All right. Well, I think we've crushed this topic. Folks, I really appreciate you tuning in. We are definitely going to be having more of the Counter Media podcast. I really like teaming up with these guys. And again, there's a bunch of folks in the background that are really contributing to this. We're going to try to twist their arm and get them on camera because I think they'd be great being able to contribute in person. But we have a great team of people that are very interested in, just providing facts, information, and truth to the American public. And that's something that we're not getting in the mainstream media. And, we want to be a collective force, contributing to that and doing our best to inform you. Everybody's out there working hard, doing their thing. You don't know who to trust. And we're going to be very careful about what we'll put out, the information we put out. We're going to vet it, make sure it's correct, and do our best to make sure that we act with, a level of integrity that a lot of places, a lot of sources of information just don't operate with. Chris, Nate, thank you guys for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
I want to say stay armed, stay ready, but that's not our thing. We're going to have we're definitely going to have to get some intro music for the Counter Media podcast and some logos and good thumbnails and all that stuff.
And then I'm going to give myself a shout out. nwkphotography.com. Dress your walls.
Yeah, and we'll start making sure we have some links and stuff down in the description for.
Don't leave your walls naked.
Don't leave your walls naked. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, stay armed, stay ready might be kind of mean to say to me because I kind of can't.
What are you guys using? You guys are using boomerangs?
This. I have a bullet pen. All right. I said I was going to show
you stuff
later. That's all.
That's like a federal offense over there.
Yeah.
You're going to get raided, bro.
Yeah, you are. You're done, Chris.
Freaking the Australian brown coats are coming to get you.
Yep.
Also, folks, it's Christmas. Make sure you go to ParamountTactical.com. Get all your gear from there. Make sure you go check out if you're not watching our YouTube channel, make sure you go check that out. There's other information, but definitely Wednesday. I'm telling you, folks, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We got a great show for you. I will be posting that either tonight. I don't know. It's getting pretty late. I'll do it in the morning. We're going to do it in the morning. So we will do it in the morning, but make sure you join us Wednesday. It is health and fitness related. It's going to be an awesome show. I promise you it'll be interesting. But yeah, this is all I got. So until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.